Welcome to the Less Stressed Life podcast. This is your host, Kristi Bigler, private practice integrative nutritionist, helping people across the U.S. reverse digestive issues, eczema, and autoimmunity via phone and video consult. To learn more, visit lessstressednutrition.com. Now, on to the show. So today on the Less Stressed Life, we have Kristi Linebaugh, who is a partner with Vigoa, and she and her partner are award-winning chefs that specialize in helping people with special dietary needs and restrictions have great flavor without the work. So let me tell you a little bit about how I came into knowing about their product or their olive oil that we're going to talk a little bit about today. I was in Florida with my husband for a conference. We went to an open air market. I was walking around sampling some things and looking at the goods, and I tried some olive oil. And I walked forward and then tasted the olive oil and took 3 steps back and said, this olive oil is not like anything I have ever tasted before. It was very exceptional. And since then, I've been buying about a case a year to give to people, and all the foodies in my life really, really love it. But the background for Kristi and Miriam is that basically, they worked together. They had started a coffee shop back in the day. And within the first 6 months of the business, people asked Kristi to make them lunch. And she said, I don't know how to cook. And Miriam said, don't worry, I'll make my seasoned olive oils and you just splash it on everything and people will think you know how to cook. And so not only did that work, but eventually they talked them or Miriam into bottling her secret sauce. And it only took her 7 years to be talked into doing that. And that was really the beginning of this olive oil, this beautiful olive oil product called Canary Island Garlic Herb Olive Oils, aka Splash. So I'm going to let Kristi tell us a little bit more about olive oil today and the benefits and kind of their story. Welcome, Kristi.
Hi, Krista. It's so good to be here and glad to talk to you. And I'm glad that you discovered us in that market in Florida. That's really exciting because that happens so often is that, we may never have met if it wouldn't have been for you being on vacation. So how awesome is that?
Yeah, it is really fabulous. So we were talking off air about, I was thinking when I tasted this olive oil, it's rich and beautiful and delicious. And we were talking a little bit off air about how it's sourced and where the recipe came from. So tell us a little bit more about where you get the olive oil that you use to make the herb olive oil blend, first of all.
Absolutely. Well, Miriam Vigoa, my business partner, her heritage, she's a Spanish heritage from the Canary Islands. And so the original recipe for the original one, we have 3 flavors, a hot and a lime as well. But for the original one, that came from her great-grandmother. And so she just literally used it her whole life. And so when our customers came in and were wanting, to eat there, that was her go-to of what she's always used. And so we started making it there in the restaurant. And when they finally did talk her into bottling it, she wanted to use a Spanish olive oil to really keep it authentic. We call it Canary Island, not because the olive oil is from there, but because the recipe is from there. But the olive oil is extra virgin, and it's a Spanish olive oil. And we make them every 90 days. And that really, because we promote the health benefits of it, like what happened to you when you tasted it, you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Because it's so fresh. A lot of people think they don't even like olive oil, but it's the same concept of when you've had good olive oil, then you realize, wow, wait a minute, maybe I haven't been tasting something that's fresh,
Right.
So that's why we use the Spanish olive oil for her family heritage. And it just seems to come across a bit more buttery. And so because our restaurant was the first healthy restaurant in our county, we really needed to find ways to kind of sneak healthy stuff in because, when we opened, healthy was not in Florida even still. We're still kind of trying to catch up. It's not really the big thing to be healthy. So we had to kind of distract them with the flavor so they wouldn't notice it was healthy. They were so busy enjoying the flavor.
Right, because nothing really matters if it doesn't taste good first.
Exactly.
So you mentioned that this olive oil is extra virgin olive oil. I think it's probably worth mentioning. We think we know what extra virgin olive oil is. Maybe you could just touch on what extra virgin olive oil is, first of all, how that's made, and then we can talk about the health benefits of it.
Absolutely. So extra virgin olive oil is a grade of olive oil, meaning when you first press the olive oil, or the first press the olives and olive oil comes out, it's graded for the smell, the taste, if it has a bitter note as far as like a unattractive bitterness, or a staleness, or you really want it to be more of a nutty, fruity freshness. And with that burn in the back of your throat is really going to be where the polyphenols come in. So extra virgin olive oil it's first pressed, and it's coming out. I really relate it to an orange. When you squeeze that orange, how beautiful and vibrant and wonderful all the nutrients are for your body. And so extra virgin olive oil is the highest amount of polyphenols and antioxidants. Everything that's very good for you is at its highest level and has the best flavor. So that would be what an extra virgin would be. And that's really the health benefits is really why we only use extra virgin olive oil.
Got it. So you talked about your mom and her fasting blood sugar, and this is kind of an inspiration to you. And actually, let's go one step back before we talk about your mom. There was a guy that came into your restaurant, and you had said, you were telling me off air some things he had said. After you started using the olive oil and started serving food in your restaurant, people weren't just buzzing about the taste, but they said they felt differently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was so amazing. And that really started, the chatter in our head of, wow, this is making people feel better. And so this one gentleman, he comes in and he was like, wow, what do you guys put in the food? Because I feel so great when I eat here. And he would eat there every day, but he would go, on a trip or whatever, and he traveled a lot, so he would eat at other restaurants. And so he would come back and he'd say, why is it when I eat at regular restaurants, like my hands are so swollen I can't get my ring off? I don't feel well. I have acid reflux, or my stomach hurts, or, he said, I immediately don't feel well when I'm eating at those other places. And so we would just continue to tell people, well, it's the splash, that's all that we cook with. And because we didn't, open packages and assemble food like a lot of the restaurants nowadays pretty much assemble the food, meaning they don't really necessarily cook from scratch. They're doing, pre-done. So we were using our Canary Island olive oil and everything, and people don't realize that extra virgin olive oil is super helpful. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's as powerful as ibuprofen, as far as fighting inflammation. And so people would tell us, they'd say, I just feel so much better when I'm eating here. Well, then we started doing more of the research when we were starting to write our books, and found that the inflammation, it's fighting cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, degenerative joint diseases. You actually talk a lot about inflammation on your podcasts and your blog, which I loved seeing that you were helping people with that. So that really, that's definitely why we all only use extra virgin olive oil.
Yeah. And I'm going to tag on some other health benefits that I see when I see inflammation in practice. So I'll run micronutrient tests often. And so people are somewhat familiar with omega-3s and omega-6s, and that's an add-on that you can do to look at your omega-3s and 6s. But inherently on the micronutrient panel, we have something called oleic acid or omega-9. And so whenever that is down or depleted, it really shows, one, I see it on a lot of athletes. So even, something healthy can cause inflammation, right? Because your body's always working to repair and recover. So people that have quite a bit of inflammation, I usually see a really depressed oleic acid. And oleic acid or omega-9s or extra virgin olive oil is a fantastic source of omega-9 or oleic acid. So honestly, instead of giving people a supplement for that, I really ask them to copiously use olive oil and avocado and some of those other omega-9 sources to get that back up. But why it's so interesting and important is because if that fatty acid is low, then you have to look at the other fat soluble nutrients or the other nutrients that rely on fat to be moved around. And so like you said, it's an within range, right? When everything's in balance, it's all very anti-inflammatory. And so we really care about these other fat soluble nutrients, vitamins A, D, E, and K. And so we know there's lots of research about vitamin D being very anti-inflammatory. And some people even consider that people with an autoimmune condition should automatically be on vitamin D because of its because there's vitamin D receptors on every cell and there's much research. But I just wanted to add to that about the benefits of olive oil. You talked about some polyphenols. A functional food is one that has benefits in many ways, right? Food that is medicine, really. And so it's fun to think about how all the variable ways that we see it in life and in practice and whatnot, because really food should be fun and it should nourish us and we should enjoy it at the same time.
Absolutely. That's really our passion is that, because if you get so restrictive and people aren't interested, and so what we found here is that we would really have to make it more of attraction versus promotion because, when we were trying to teach something to someone who's not ready for it, it went nowhere. But when we gave them something super delicious and it was healthy as well, really made people start to look at things differently. And then when they started feeling better and they didn't have their acid attack or whatever, become much more attractive for them to be able to, incorporate it into their lives and become more open. And Miriam often says, the sicker people get, the more open they become because it's like, wow, nothing else is working. I really need to start looking at other options and other ways of living.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I talked to a woman yesterday who decided she wasn't quite ready to work on her health yet. And she did have some issues and annoyances, but they were only annoyances, right? They weren't, her arm wasn't bleeding at sight, right? Essentially. And so unfortunately, that is kind of how society is. And we talk about that I probably started to sound like a broken record on this podcast, is that sometimes people wait until things are pretty bad before we work on them. And that's sort of the human behavior. The other thing that you said I thought was interesting is people being ready to process and take that information. And how often do we hear something and we're not ready to apply that in such a way, right? And so coming back and revisiting that information later can be a really beneficial thing. So I love that as well. And you also said restriction's not attractive. I couldn't agree more. Restriction is not attractive. And fortunately, you didn't get to live in this world. You didn't start in this world. You were probably starting still when low fat was in. And now I think we're really coming out of that time. We're being more high healthy fats. So it's a good time to be in the healthy fat industry. It was always a good time, but now people are starting to understand it better. But the good thing is that having great healthy fats helps promote satiation, right? We're not hungry. Who wants to be hungry all the time, right?
Exactly.
And I'm guessing that plays in to your mom and her fasting blood sugar story, right?
Yeah, that was what was really amazing. We were working on our book called Curious, and so I was really delving into a lot of the health benefits of the olive oil. And so we were talking more and, just visiting, kind of just mom-daughter visiting, and she had mentioned something about her blood sugar. And her father had had diabetes and died from complications of diabetes, and then her grandmother, and then my cousin, so diabetes runs in the family. So she's always been very aware of her blood sugar. And so even though she doesn't have diabetes, she always takes her blood sugar just to keep an eye on it. And so over time, it had started creeping up. And the doctor had said, if you don't get this down, you're going to have to go on metformin. Well, that was not an option. My mom didn't want that at all. And so she would, after she ate, she would eat. After she eats, she would walk for like 20 minutes every time she ate. Well, the problem is she was burning up so much of her calories, she started losing a lot of weight. And so she started getting very thin. Well, that was no good. And so, but she had to do it to keep her blood sugar down. Well, her blood sugar continued to creep up, and so it was her fasting sugar was like 145, 150. So the doctor now was threatening at this point that you're going to have to do it. And so when we were writing, we've written another book called Curious, 29 frequently asked questions about olive oil. And so it was great because here I am writing this book and I'm like, oh my God, Mom, like extra virgin olive oil will help lower your blood sugar, and of course she was ecstatic. And so oh my gosh, it's amazing the amount of research that they're doing as far as the effects on your blood sugar. And so just to simplify, or I guess to go quickly through instead of giving you all the whole study of everything, but the great thing is that she was taking 2 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, not ours because ours has seasoning in it, so I just told her to buy a really nice extra virgin olive oil. And for her to take 2 to 3 tablespoons a day, so she takes it breakfast, lunch, and dinner before she eats, and that would lower her fasting blood sugar. And so you have to remember her blood sugar was like 150, 145, even after she was walking 20 minutes, which should have helped. So she could never get it under 100, 110, 120. Now she's taking her 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil a day, and she stopped eating out. And that was a big part of it too. I think, is coupling them together. But her fasting blood sugar is now 81, 82, 83, and she's not having to walk every single time she eats. If she's going to say, well, I'm going to go to church and I don't want to walk, or whatever. So she's able to put some more weight on as well. But that was from a study, I think it was Sapienza University in Rome, was one of the ones that I found was linking the lowering your blood glucose with eating extra virgin olive oil. So that was that was life-changing, really, for her.
Yeah, it was a good timing for both of you. But you have your own olive oil success story, isn't that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so using our seasoned olive oils, because it's not just like a flavor added, there's actually the herbs and spices and everything in there. It gives you lots of layers of flavor. And so it's like what you were just talking about a minute ago, you feel very satiated, when you're eating. And so, over the years of running a restaurant and I think really a lot of the stress of it and eating late at night and everything. So we had the restaurant for over 20 years. And it's funny because even though, it was a healthy restaurant, I would eat at horrible times. And then I would get home and I would eat bad things, and it was like my weight had continued to creep up over the years, which I always thought was kind of bizarre. Here we are, I have a healthy restaurant and I'm gaining weight. And so Miriam was like, well, what you need to do is, stop like eating late at night, junk when you're getting home and you're so tired, and just she called them was fresh plates. She's like, what I want you to do is every time you eat, have a big salad on the bottom, like organic greens. I always try to use the organic greens. And then if you're going to do some chicken or if you're going to do some fish or some veggies, you cook them in the splash. And we always cook it, medium heat. You don't want to heat extra virgin olive oil up high. Keep it like medium. And cook your veggies and then just pour them over your salad. And she's like, you're going to lose weight. And so we called it fresh plates. And literally I lost 50 pounds. And it was really that feeling of satiation that I felt like, wow, I don't need to go and eat anything else. But also my blood pressure, it's kind of funny. My blood pressure has gone down, and so we don't have the restaurant anymore. The stress is gone. That helps tremendously as well. But yeah, it's called, I do fresh plates. So anytime I eat, I use our oil to cook with a little bit of our oil over the top, the little Bragg's apple cider vinegar. And just eat it like that. And she actually created that originally at the restaurant to kind of bribe the guys into eating their salad, because there she would make like this beautiful steak and shrimp lunch for them with the big organic salad. And the guys didn't want to eat the salad. They just wanted to eat the steak. And so we'd end up throwing it away. So she came up with fresh plates originally at the restaurant by just putting all the salad on the bottom, cooking the food, and putting the food over the top of the salad. And it made everything taste so good that they ate right through the salad. So that was always great to hear the wives come up and go, "What did you do to the salad? My husband never eats salad at home." So what magic is that?
I didn't know that problem expanded to Florida. I thought that was a Midwest problem where men didn't eat vegetables sometimes.
That's right. Universal man problem.
Yeah, no kidding. So you mentioned that olive oil improved your own blood pressure, but you had a question. I think you had some research about olive oil and blood pressure. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And so the great thing about the blood pressure and the olive oil, and I wrote some of this down too because I want to be sure and get it right for you. So there was the polyphenols and the extra virgin olive oil is as you know, anti-inflammatory, also an anti-cancer. But there was this amazing, really amazing study done at the National Institute of Health, and they did 700 males and 148 females, and it was the using extra virgin olive oil was associated with a 47% lower risk of acute coronary syndrome. So when you start looking at that, they started they really mentioned the fact that, it's a vasodilator. I guess I'm saying that right. You probably know how to say that better.
No, you said it perfect.
Perfect. A vasodilator, and so it helps the walls of the artery relax as well, and so that really helps lower the blood pressure. Because I would say, because I'm a chef, I'm not a scientist, but I would say because it's helping it relax, it's not pushing it through as forcefully, and the inflammation going down as well would help lower the blood pressure, I would think, also. But it's an anti-hypertension, along with the anti-inflammatory. So the vasodilator, here we go. It's the widening of the blood vessels and helps relax the smooth muscles in the larger veins. And it also, extra virgin olive oil, using it every day, it was in this same study from the National Institute of Health, increases arterial elasticity, which reduces vascular stress, lowering the risk of heart attack and stroke. Mm-hmm. So that's like just added beautiful bonus to eating the extra virgin olive oil. My mom's blood pressure has gone down as well because her blood pressure had been creeping up over the years. It was like 152 over 98 or 148 over 97. And so I called her this morning because I said, I want to report the latest update of her BP. Mm-hmm. So I just talked to her a little while ago, and it's great. My mom would be an amazing laboratory specialist because she keeps such meticulous notes. So her blood pressure now runs between 127 over 71, 119 over 70. And that's really going from, obviously it's 152 over 98. That's a tremendous difference. And really, she's taking her extra virgin olive oil 3 times a day, not eating out except for once a week or so as a treat, and using a splash. So because she lives alone, she had gotten into, I'm just going to buy this little package of chicken tenders, or I'm just going to buy this little frozen meal, or I'm going to just put ranch dressing on my salad. And so I told her, all those chemicals as well are wreaking havoc in your body, not just because you think, I ate something that didn't agree with me, but it's really the constant onslaught of chemicals and preservatives and additives and all the craziness that they're putting in the food. So she's cooking with the splash. She'll put it in her oatmeal, and she'll put it in her eggs, and
Ah,
so
savory,
that's
savory oatmeal, olive oil. I don't know if she's using flavored olive oil, but that was something I heard from another dietitian colleague recently was savory oatmeal. And I started doing that. It's an egg with some green onions and splashes of olive oil and maybe some avocado on your oatmeal instead of just sweet stuff. And I thought, oh, what a fun way to change that up a little bit. So
exactly. Because my mom grew up with, brown sugar and cinnamon. So when I suggested putting the splash in her oatmeal, it took a minute or two for her to adjust. She said, "What? No, I don't. And then just like what we were saying, the sicker she got, the more open she became to trying different things. But I had told her to put her egg over easy, cook it in a splash and put that over the top. But I hadn't thought of the avocado. What a great idea! I'm gonna I'm gonna tell her now. Add avocado, Mom.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you're passionate about how you can make great food at home taste great. And the thing is, so I used to not think this was so handy, but I live in the middle of nowhere, not really close to any restaurants. So eating out for me, as much as maybe I would want to sometimes after a long day, isn't even an option. So,
Right.
so I'm sort of forced to eat at home all the time. But for a lot of people, it's really easy to grab something. Or actually, the other piece is that people kind of like you think they don't know how to cook or make things taste great or whatever. So let's talk about some of your favorite ways to use these seasoned olive oils at home, because you said something that was important, I think, earlier, is not overheating olive oil because it has a low smoke point, and so you can kind of degrade some of its beneficial properties by overheating it and letting it smoke a lot. For your olive oil, I think it's too fine to be cooking with, right? So I only use it as a flavor enhancer, but I'd love to hear some of your favorite ways to use the splash olive oil alone and then herbed or seasoned olive oil as well.
Absolutely. We well, at the restaurant we just we called it shake, splash, and eat. So we splashed everything. So we would literally because it's so concentrated, and I think too a lot of people have a misconception because most people, not everybody, but most people I'd say in the Midwest. I know I'm from the Midwest originally. We grew up on bacon grease or like corn oil or vegetable oil. And so I think a lot of times we have the concept of when we're cooking with oils that we need to fill the whole bottom of the pan and make it deep, because it's like when Grandma cooked fried chicken, like it was doing the backstroke in there. I mean, there was a lot of oil in there, and so I think sometimes what happens is people will use too much. And so that's one of the things that we teach too is when we say shake, we say splash, just a little bit into the pan. So we would take maybe 2 tablespoons, 3 at the maximum, for like 6 to 8 shrimp, and saute 3 minutes. If you like extra garlic, throw in a little mashed garlic clove in there. Saute the shrimp for about 3 minutes. I like to either throw in some little baby grape tomatoes at the very last minute, and then pour that hot over the top of a salad. If you like some cold veggies on top, throw in some cucumber. And that's a really nice way to just have a one pan dinner, because you're going to eat it on your salad without making a mess. And a lot of times people don't realize too, and they think high heat, they'll think, high on the stove. You wouldn't want to cook on, most people don't cook on super high, when they're cooking. But the cool thing about extra virgin olive oil when you are cooking, I'd say, like sauteing on the stove usually is like around 200, 300, I would say. But the neat thing is when you put vegetables into extra virgin olive oil, the vegetables release water and it keeps the oil cool. So to keep it around 220. And so that's the great thing because we cook with a lot of vegetables and some meats is definitely as well. But the vegetables actually keep the oil cooler. So we'll do scrambled eggs with it in the morning, or like we were talking about, oatmeal, we'll cook that as well. But we'll also put it on our sandwiches. We never used mayonnaise and stuff like that at the restaurant. We would bake the turkey, and we would actually use it as a rub over the top of the turkey, or you could inject it as well. But we would do like a turkey and avocado sandwich, and drizzle it over the top there, and then put our oil over the outside of the bread to do like a panini. Or we would do a veggie panini, which would have hummus and zucchini and bell peppers and red cabbage and carrots and tomatoes and baby spinach and arugula. If you like mozzarella, put a little mozzarella, and then we'd put our oil over the top and on the bread and to do it as a grill. But we will also put it in fish, which is a great way to, cook your fish with it too, because it's got all your herbs and spices in there. So it would make like a nice little herb crust on the fish also. Mm-hmm. So we pretty much anything you could eat, we would put the splash on for sure.
Yeah, I think, as you're talking about it, I use it pretty frequently. Sometimes a year, it's more in the front of my cupboard than other times. I like to use it as a salad dressing, which you mentioned as well. And I like to do the season vegetables and put them over different things. But something I was thinking as you were describing all this to splash it really well, I think you guys need to sell a special bottle lid that is, the types of olive oil containers that you pour your bulk olive oil in, and then you can kind of, it's like a pour spout, like a liquor bottle, right? It kind of allows for it. Yes. That's probably what you had at the restaurant. I feel like I need one that just goes on my Canary Island bottle because I was just pondering. I'm like, I'm going to need to put that in like a littler bottle so I can just leave it on the counter and like always be drizzling it a little bit more. Because if you open a bottle, it's a little different, right? But if you just have this pour spout that automatically kind of turns on and off itself, it's perfect. So anyway, just a thought.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because the other day, Miriam was telling a customer that because the reason why that opening is so big, so a lot of people are like, oh, it comes out so fast, is because they're done by hand, and so to make that opening littler would really be super intensive. But the craziest thing, and we're going to look into see if we can do it. A customer told her he takes his honey cap that has like the flip top lid. And it's got that smaller hole, and he puts his honey cap on top of the splash. So when he shakes it up, he can just do a little boop, 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 and it comes out perfect with the herbs and the oil, but it comes out slower. Mm-hmm. And I asked him if the sound effects were included. He said, no, the sound effects are not included. But so if you have a honey cap, I think we're going to have to look into that. To put that on top to slow that down. Yeah, because it's so great to have just right at hand, or bread dipping. Everybody loves a little bread dipping, or for our gluten-free people, we do like Udis or Rudies to do those breads tend to fall apart, we find when we dip. So what we say is to just take the bread and put a little bit of our olive oil and just almost like eat it like toast, toast the bread first. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are doing the cauliflower crusts now for the pizza. So what we would do is we would mix a little bit of the original garlic and herb or the hot, either one, because they're both savory, in some cream cheese with a little bit of feta. And then you put that on the bottom of your pizza and then top it with some baby arugula, zucchini, if you have some chicken, if you like artichoke hearts, a little fresh mozzarella and tomatoes, a little bit more of our olive oil, and just toast that. That's really good. Or on a pita. That's delicious. Now I'm getting hungry, see?
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be really good because I think the people that listen to this are typically kind of food people. And so you're making them kind of excited and happy. So it's all all good and relevant. So
it's good.
Kristi, one of the questions that everyone gets here when they are a guest on the Less Stressed Life is, what's your gut reaction you'd want to share with someone today that's listening, feels like you're speaking directly to them, or they just want to get started incorporating more healthful olive oil into their life, right? They don't know where to get it or whatnot. What do you say? Like, what is the sentiment you want to leave people with today?
For us, I feel like doing business with smaller companies, you tend to be able to go to the source if you have questions. So for us, we try to, as far as getting healthier, we try to always stick with people that we know. When we would buy our baby greens, we would buy them from the farmer, or if we're going to try to eat local, and you have a farmer there or someone who harvests, their own cattle. So what we find is that if you're wanting to make those first initial steps, the easiest, fastest way is to just simplify. And for us, we'll say, buy single ingredient things, not meaning like they can't have multiple ingredients, but like if you're going to buy chicken, don't buy already breaded seasoned chicken. Buy a chicken like it came from the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to buy steak at the store, don't buy pre-seasoned that's already wrapped up and got all the vegetables mixed in and some coating over the top. Go straight for, if you're going to buy eggs, don't buy the pre-made eggs. So our thing is really keep it as simple as possible. It's going to be not only the easiest way to get started, you don't have to try to buy everything perfectly arranged and nothing has to be perfect, really. I think that's where a lot of fear comes in. And so for us, we really try to knock the fear aside by saying, keep it simple, and you don't have to know how to cook. You don't have to know how to put things together, because as far as how we teach, I'm using like the Canary Island olive oils, because all the good stuff's in there. There's no work. And so for our students, that really takes a lot of the fear out of it, because when they go to a doctor and the doctor suddenly tells them that the way they have been eating for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years of their life, they can no longer do. First, they get angry. And then second, they get afraid. And now they're scared because they don't know how to feed themselves. And that's like the basic of survival. Is one of the basics is we have to be able to feed ourselves. And so the way we just say shake, splash, and eat, you buy some portobello mushrooms, you buy a little bit of chicken, you've got some tomatoes and onions, put it in the pan, lift the splash, you saute it and pour it on your salad. That's not scary. And for us, that's our thing, is just don't be afraid. No matter what the doctor's telling you, know that there's hope, that your body isn't broken forever, that your body can heal itself, and that there's people out there that can help you. And like you guys, I love it because you're so passionate about helping people feel better, that you don't make it overwhelming and scary. And, that's what people don't need, is more fear, and that's what's awesome, is when we can offer hope for people to say, it can get better, and you will start feeling better, and don't be afraid. Just be easy with yourself and just keep it as simple as possible.
What a beautiful message, and what a beautiful thing to share with the audience. And I feel like this is one of those episodes that you pass off and you share with mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, because it's really these basics. And the wonderful thing about your business and company is that you not only make this incredible product, you teach people how to use it, but not just that, you give them a lot of education. I know in the resources in the show notes, there'll be a link for a free copy of your Shake, Splash, and Eat Shockingly Simple Recipes Guide, correct?
Yes, and I was just thinking, if I can change that, because, we have really been talking about the health benefits of olive oil. If I can change that up, I think people would really I think they'd get more information from our other book, the Curious 29 Frequently Asked Questions About Extra Virgin Olive Oil, because it really lists the studies that we talked about and different things like that, the health benefits of the olive oil. I think if we can switch that up a little bit, I think I would like to offer that one. Now, the Shake, Splash, and Eat is a fun book, and it's got stories from the restaurant, and it's got pictures and some of the recipes that I discussed, and that's a fun book too. But it really focuses more on like restaurant recipes that were fast and easy and popular. But I think just from what we've been talking about, I think your audience would probably find more value in the Curious book. So if I can change that up.
Of course, absolutely.
You think?
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. We'll get that link squared away. So where's the easiest place? So we're talking about this mouth-watering Canary Island herb olive oil. How can people get this?
Absolutely. We in Florida, we are sold in Whole Foods grocery stores and Lucky's Markets. We're part of the Small Farmers Program for both of those grocery stores. But as far as nationwide, we have our regular website, which is vigoacuisine.com, and they can definitely go on there and order. And we have different specials if they're wanting to buy in bulk by the case or buy 6 bottles. They can do that in different ways. But what we're offering, we'd like to offer as far as the holidays as well, is we're doing, when you buy 4 bottles, you get free shipping on our Etsy website. So that's been very popular because people like to give it to friends and family, and then they can stock up on this. We call it, you got to build up your stash of splash. You got to keep some for yourself. So they can get that at our Vigoa Cuisine Etsy website. So I can send you all of those links as well if you like. But yeah, we're doing a 4. When they can pick. We have 3 flavors: original garlic and herb, lime garlic and herb, and hot spicy garlic and herb. And they can just double up on whatever they think. Usually people do a hot lime and 2 original. And when they go to checkout at the Etsy, it'll be free shipping anywhere in the continental U.S.
Yeah, which is a big deal when you're shipping heavy bottles of oil, and that's always a challenge. I know it's a challenge for people that are producing food for sure. So we really appreciate that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys, and I'm so glad that you found us.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're able to share your gifts and your time and your talents and your recipes. And you were painting a picture in the kitchen today, so that's always a good time. And yeah, I really enjoyed talking olive oil with you today, Kristi.
Oh, absolutely, Krista, and keep up the great work. And I enjoy your passion, and I'm excited to see how you're changing people's lives too. So it's been great fun being here on the podcast with you.
Thanks so much.
One of the best gifts you could give us at the Less Stress Life is your feedback. We are paid in podcast reviews. If you enjoyed this or any other episode, please leave us a review. In the iTunes store or from your podcast app, just search for Less Stress Life as if you're not already subscribed. Click on the banana face image, scroll to the bottom where it shows the text of other reviews, and write a review. While you're there, hey, make sure you hit subscribe. For Android or Stitcher users, you gotta go to the desktop site and search for Less Stress Life, and then scroll down to leave a review. Stitcher doesn't load Apple reviews on their site, so if you want, you can leave a review in both places. Your feedback means a lot to the success of the show. Thanks so much for taking the time to do that. You rock.